Welcome to the Fearless Homeschool podcast with Macaulay, talking everything homeschooling, family, learning, and life. A space where we can learn and grow together because
why do it alone?
Welcome back for another week on the Fearless Homeschool podcast. This week, we're diving into the world of unschooling with the incredible Sara McDonald from Happiness is Here. While Sara shares so many valuable insights into her homeschooling journey on social media and her blog, it's always a special treat to sit down with her and delve deeper into her experiences. What I love about chatting with Sara is how effortlessly she shares her thoughts and her learnings. There's a no-fuss, matter-of-fact quality to her approach that makes everything feel so accessible. And this conversation is no exception. So let's jump into part one of our chat with Sara. Hello, Fearless Homeschoolers. As you've just heard, we're welcoming Sara McDonald, also known as Sara from Happiness is Here, to the podcast today. Hey, Sara, how are you?
I'm good, thanks.
Thank you for coming. It's fair to say that you are a fair inspiration to quite a few people, especially in the unschooling world of homeschooling. And so when I created this podcast, I knew we had to get you on as an unschooling mum to chat about that world. So for a few reasons, I think will become apparent as Sara speaks. But just to start us off, can you tell us a little bit about who you are, your family, and what drew you to homeschooling in the first place?
Yeah, we are a family of 6 and I have 4 girls who are now 15, 13, 11, 9. Wow, that's actually really good, the ages at the moment. And we have always homeschooled, so they've never been to school or anything. We live in Queensland. And we started really, I actually didn't know anyone who homeschooled at all. And a friend just happened to mention it to me because she's actually a teacher and she knew someone who homeschooled and they'd written a book. And she was like, I actually think you would really like this book. You should read it. And I read it and I was like, man, that sounds amazing.
Do you know what the book was?
It was called like Live, Love, Learn or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Someone who lives in Queensland too. Yeah, I read that and I was like, that sounds like amazing. Like you can just do all this education, but you don't have to send your child away. Because I just always had that feeling when my first daughter was born that I have such limited time that I've only got 5 years to be with her and then I have to send her away. And I just always had that like dread. I never thought I'd homeschool though. Like I thought I didn't have a problem with school and I quite enjoyed it myself. Looking back, I'm not sure that's entirely true. But yeah, so I thought I had it in the back of my mind, like I knew that it was an option then. And then we tried out a kindy and she loved it. And then I was like, all right, so you're going to start there. And well, it won't be like when we tried it, you'll go by yourself. And she just burst into tears like, what? Like, you're just going to leave me? And it must have been really in the back of my mind because she only had to say that. And I was like, we're not doing it. So I told my husband about it and he was like, this sounds good, but this is too far. Like we can't be that weird. We've already done so many things differently. We can't homeschool seriously. And I was like, listen, buddy, if you want to have an opinion, then you got to do as much research as me and find out about it. And I actually wasn't like that convinced myself at that point. I was just like, hey, don't tell me what to do. Like I've read about this. And then he went away and actually learned about it and then come back and was like, well, you're right. We have to do it. And I was like, oh my gosh, whoa. I wanted you to agree with me, but I didn't actually want to do it. Anyway, once you start learning about it, I feel like it's too late for you. You're going to do it down the rabbit hole. And we just knew too much about it that we were like, why would we send our kid to school? Especially when they're really little. We just were like, in Queensland, prep isn't compulsory or anything. And we just thought, why not just wait a year and see how it goes? And then we just never sent her to school. Yeah.
That's now 11 years or 10 years ago?
Yeah, she was 4. Yeah, 11 years ago.
Yeah.
Almost 12 years. She's about to be 16, actually. Yeah.
There you go. Sweet 16. And 16 is still my favorite number. And it's not because I liked 16. I just liked the wording sweet 16.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It wasn't my favorite year.
She's been talking about that for the last year. It's just gonna be my sweet 16. She's planning her birthday. She's spent hours at the moment planning this
So
party
cute.
she's gonna have.
That's so cute. But I wanted to take a point, and this has been a theme that's come through quite a few of the chats I've already had, is that 10 years ago, it wasn't as easy to find out about homeschooling as jumping on your blog or jumping on, you really had to find someone to talk to or find the right book or whatever, because there wasn't that much accessible information. So
Yeah.
when you said to hubby you have to do some research, he actually had to do some research, right? He just
Yeah.
didn't swipe.
Yeah. But the best thing was I sent him a video and it was Ken Robinson Changing Education Paradigms, it's called. And once he
Yep.
saw that, he was like, absolutely right. We can't send her to that school factory. And yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's really
Um,
good.
no, keep going. Sorry.
No, that was it. Yeah.
Yep. So the other thing is you obviously then you kind of had a little bit of time. Like you said, it was kinder that you kind of went, oh, nah, we're out. Prep is non-compulsory. So you had a bit of breathing time before, depending on where you were in your homeschooling journey, before you were like, yes, this that homeschooling type thing, right?
Yeah.
And so what was your the main approach we know is unschooling. So, but where did you draw from that? How did you sort of move towards that?
Yeah, so I read a lot about natural learning, right? And so
Yes.
I was watching her, and if you watch a little kid learn everything, like I wasn't teaching her, and she was just learning all this stuff, and I was like addicted to watching her. I was like, this is amazing. She's so great. Why would I send her somewhere where they make her sit down and force her to do stuff? She's doing it all herself. And so the more I watched her, I just couldn't I couldn't imagine why we needed school. It just seems like we don't need this. We're going great. She's learning all these things. She's really curious. And I just also like she was so happy. And and then I had all these friends whose kids had started prep and they're posting like my kid is crying and I'm dropping them off and they're clinging to me, but they say that's totally normal. Like just leave them. They'll forget soon. And my kid is here just happily playing in the dirt and still wanting to read and all these things. And I just thought, why on earth would I give this up for what I see here? It looks terrible. And we just didn't feel like we needed it, really.
Mm.
It comes down to that. I don't feel like we need school or we have time for it at this point. And then I was
Yeah.
reading a lot of books at the same time about trying to learn more. Free to Learn by Peter Gray and John Holt's books about how
Mhm.
to learn, and everything I read in there, I'm seeing her doing this, and I was like, it's true. Like I don't need any of this. Yeah, I just am so grateful though that one person did mention it because if I didn't know that like real normal people did this, I would have just sent her and been like, what else could I do? Nobody's homeschooling. I didn't know anybody. So yeah.
And there is that concept, right? Until you're in the community or you meet someone that
Yeah.
everyone is a bit odd homeschooled,
Yeah.
and it's so not true. Like when you're first
Well,
contemplating it.
you're all extremely religious and you're wearing like
Yeah.
long covered up dresses and you're sitting at the kitchen table and your mum is teaching you school at home. That's like literally the thought when I thought homeschooling was. And people and I had to read things and people were like, no, it's like your kid wants to learn about temples, you're in the creek and you're taking them home and you're doing real stuff. And I was like, wow, that actually sounds magical. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's funny you said that about your friends, because for us, we started school with our eldest, and we first year was drop off, go running, loved it type of thing. But then other things happened and we ended up where your friends were. And I sort of turned to my hubby and he was on board way before me. Like he was all about let's do this, because we were in a very interesting phase of 2020, 2021. And then I just turned around and I said, I would not go to my job if this was how I felt. Like I would
Yeah.
not continue to be employed at that place. I was like, well, what am I
Absolutely.
doing to my daughter?
I wish more people thought that because I think if that did happen to me, obviously, not like you, I would have been like, I have to find another option now. And it would have
Yep.
made me look at other things. But Yeah, that's so true. I just don't understand why people don't see kids the same way. Like, they're just like, "Yeah, it sucks, but they have to do it."
Mm.
And they
Yeah.
don't. That's why I started my blog, actually. I was like, "More people need to know." Like, I accidentally stumbled upon something. If I can keep talking about it, more people will stumble upon it, and then they won't have to go through that. They'll know.
Oh, and thank God you did because seriously, it is so helpful to so many people first starting out, whether they go down the, the pure unschooling or whatever they choose, just to know it's going to be okay. Like
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
okay.
yeah. And I
Um,
just really like seeing normal people doing it and what it looks like, because it's really, you can read a lot of books about the theory and people's stories, but seeing like people actually doing it and this is what's happening and their kids are happy and they're still learning stuff. I thought that was
mhm.
really helpful to me. So I was like, I need to do that for other people as well.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
so awesome. Because I mean, I'm assuming with 4 girls, writing those blogs as well, that's as much as it's something you probably love doing, it's a service and it was something that
Oh,
you were doing and taking time.
yeah. I feel like it's easier when they were littler because they would have a nap and I'd be like, oh, write something.
Yes,
Now, absolutely. It's not. My blogs are so infrequent because I'm busy. Yeah.
My mum said to me very early, and not that this is a problem, but she just said to me when I had my youngest, "Bigger kids, bigger problems." And I think it's the same, bigger kids, bigger lives, right?
Yeah. I feel like I'm just driving them around everywhere constantly, going to different things. Yeah.
So such an exciting life for them though. So you've basically explained how you stumbled across it and who inspired you. So some of it was John Holt and my brain's gone
Peter
blank.
Gray.
Peter Gray, sorry. So what was it about what they said that really went, "Yes, we're gonna try this?"
I think it's before I before even all this and with parenting, we already did that differently. So like we were respectful and like that. And then I kind of separated this parenting and this education. And then when I started to read that, I was like, no, this is the same thing. And
Mhm,
kids deserve to be treated like this in their whole life. We can't just be like, and I just felt like, why did I spend 5 years treating my child respectfully and letting them be so confident that I'm going to send them to somewhere to be punished and forced to do stuff? And then it just connected those two things. And I was like, hey, this is what I've always been about. I can keep doing it, um, and to educate my kids. And yeah, that I think that was really helpful. And I just wanted them to be free and not feel like. And they talked a lot about, actually Peter Gray's book's called Free to Learn. They talked a
yep,
lot about freedom. And John Hall talked a lot about children's rights, and all those things really resonated with me. And I was like, I want that for my kids. I want them to feel like that. I want them to feel in charge of their lives and confident. And I didn't want them to change into who school thought they should be. I want them to grow into whoever they are supposed to be themselves. And I read those things. I just felt like this is the way to do that. And I think I was right because I've got two teenagers now and they're pretty awesome. And I'm like, yeah, it worked out, it seemed risky at the time because I didn't know any teenagers, especially who had homeschooled. I didn't even know any kids who had homeschooled until I went to homeschool groups, and then it's only little kids. But I can say it's pretty awesome.
well, that's one of the first questions you get, right? Okay, you're
Yeah.
homeschooling, and it's that, but what are they doing for secondary school?
Yeah, when are they
Like,
gonna go to high school, right? No.
well, it's working, so we'll keep going. So when you talked about like kids being odd or different or not having to do what the school wanted them to do or become what the school wanted to become, you see that quite quickly, I think, once you've moved away from the school system if you've been in it, or by mid primary school. So my kids, and I'm assuming your girls with dancing, my kids still do sport with the local kids that go to school and things like that. And you can see differences in how they value themselves or how much they can stand in being their own. Have you found that same experience in comparison?
Totally, and I think it's always surprising to adults who meet them. They're like, "Whoa, they wanna talk to me. They're happy. They're not just away in, like, ignoring me," which also, let me just say, I don't think is like, I really don't like how people talk negatively about teens and how they're like that. Like, I just think we can't blame them. We've told them for so long, you're a child, you do that, and I'm an adult and I do this, and stay away from me, and I'm going to punish you if you do the wrong thing. So there are bad thoughts about teens and how they act. I think they're acting how they've been taught. But I just find that unschool kids are not like that at all. They're in your face, like, hey, do you want to hear about what I've been doing? And yeah, just so confident. And they really um, know that their thoughts and their opinion and they matter. And
Mhm.
that I'm really glad about that. I think a really good example is I was just talking to you before this about how we are looking for a new dance school, and we have been to a few, and the one we ultimately chose. I got some text messages. My daughter's texting me when we're there, like the lady is talking to us, and she's, Mom, this is the place. She's talking to us. She's talking to us about the things,
Mhm.
and she's treating us like we're people, like you do. This is the place. I think we should go here. And I'm like, yes, they know like what they deserve, and they instantly felt like, this is a good space where we're going to be respected, and they can tell exactly how people are going to treat them because they've come to expect that.
Yeah,
Um,
that's awesome.
yeah, yeah. So I'm definitely glad we found that place as well. I also think another thing is they always expect the best. And I find this is really obvious when, so say we have our homeschool group and a new person joins. And if that person has just come out of school, like, not counting that some people are more shy and more outgoing, everybody is different in unschooled or schooled. But I really find obvious when people have just come out of school and they come along to meet some people. Um, it's like they're expecting these people might be mean, or they might not like me, they might not include me. Whereas you can tell instantly if a kid has not been to school, they come and they're like, what are we doing? Can I come with you over here? Do you want to come be my friend and we're going to do this together? And just it's very rare that you find a kid that's come out of school that they're like that. They have this feeling like kids might be mean, whereas an unschooled kid has not had that experience, hopefully, very much. So they're just so positive, and have really found what I think is really helpful, especially now that they're teens, is that if people are mean to them, because that has happened too, I'd never see my kids be like, oh, what's wrong with me that they're like that? Why are they mean to me? I need to change something. They're like, oh, that person is obviously just having a bad day, or that person is just not very nice. Like, nothing
Yeah.
to do with me. Like,
Yeah.
I think, yeah, that makes me so happy because I just remember being a teenager myself. And if some of the things happened to me, I'd be like, oh, God, everybody hates me. I'm the
Yep.
worst. And they're
Yep.
just like, wow, that person's having a bad day. See ya.
Oh, and even you hit the nail. Like my youngest, he will. We live near a beach, and especially in summer when it's so busy, he'll walk on the beach. He like finds a kid, and he's like, "They're gonna be my friend," and off he goes. Just introduces himself and goes, "Do you want to play?" And like, it's so funny because they look at him like, "Wait a second, are you like, what's going on here?" And then they recalibrate and they're like, "Sweet, let's play," most of the time. And but
Yeah.
he doesn't have a second thought about going, "I'm just gonna go make friends." Like,
Yeah.
whereas there's that reservation from the other side as to, "This is not normal."
Yeah. We don't know each other. People aren't supposed to be that friendly.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think you see it really quickly.
Mhm.
With that, what are the main cornerstones for you? Like when you say unschooling, these are the things that make my family unschoolers. Like what is it? And I'm assuming it connects to your parenting a fair bit, but
Yep.
what is it that makes us an unschooling family?
I would say consent, like in everything. Like I just find it so funny when schools are like, "Oh, we teach about consent." I'm like, "But how are you doing that in a non-consensual environment?" No, no, we're not just doing consent as in with your body, but with your mind and your time and your thoughts and your education is happening consensually. We're never forcing kids to learn anything. And I know everyone would be like, "What about reading and maths?" Like, not stress enough. If you don't force them to do it, they're not going to hate it, and they will actually learn it through their life and be open to it. And now, because we've been like that, I can say to my kids, like, oh, I really think we should do this. Can we just do a bit of this and see if you like it? Because they trust me and they know if I don't like it, she's not going to force me to do it. So I'm free to try this. There's nothing to lose. Nothing bad's going to happen to me. What was I talking about? Oh,
So that's one of your cornerstones,
yeah.
like so consent. Yep.
just, yeah, it's the same kind of thing. Being free to decide what you want to do with your day. And that doesn't mean we don't have plans and ideas and projects we're working on. Just like we can also wake up and be like, actually, I want to do something different. And yeah, being respectful parenting, that means I think a lot of people take that to mean like, what's the word? Being submissive, or my kids just get to run around and do whatever they want and it doesn't matter about anyone else. But no, respect never meant that. It's like we're being respectful to other people as well, and they're being respectful to other people, not just adults are respectful to the children and the children are mean. What else? Yeah, I think just I'm really liking the term lately, intentional unschooling, which I think a lot of people are like, unschooling is what we do on the weekend when we're not doing anything, or, we do maths and reading, but then we unschool the rest, meaning we don't do anything for that. But it's not that at all. It doesn't mean we're not doing anything, or I'm not giving them ideas and things to do and taking them places and showing them stuff or even suggesting things. It just means I'm not forcing them. So we are like educating our kids, just not in a forceful way, which I think is really difficult for some people to imagine, because the only kind of education we know is the forced one, where you get tested and you feel bad if you don't do good enough, and you're compared to others, and you have to learn the same thing at the same age as everyone else. But it doesn't have to be like that.
And I think as well, where that all stems from, in my mind, as a teacher that's been in the system, right, is that at 18, all this learning needs to be done. Like, this is where the cutoff is. Whereas when, obviously, with your girls, you already can see that that's just going to keep progressing. The way they've learnt to learn means they're going to learn whenever they need it, right? I'd assume.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you take that pressure off yourself. I don't know, at some point. We're still balancing that. Like, we'll
Yeah.
get to you, Sarah, eventually. But like,
It still freaks out sometimes. Okay, no, a second. What if I'm wrong about everything? That would be bad.
it's that deadline, I think, that everyone feels, oh, by
Yeah.
18, I have to have a full grown human.
Yeah. Ridiculous. When I finished school, I was like, oh my God, what the hell? I don't know anything I want to do. Even if that's the case with my child, they're no worse off than me at school. Actually, they're a lot happier and so a lot more free. And I don't think so, because you've had so much time to get to know yourself and what you like before then. But I think what you said is like a big point that people should really think about, because I think if they did consider it, they would realize it's right, because it doesn't matter what you learn. It just matters, like, are you good at learning? Do you know how to learn? Have you had a lot of practice? Do you know how to find the information you need? Do you want to learn? Do you love learning? And I think those things are pretty easy to achieve with homeschooling and not as easy to achieve with school. And I'd rather that than you remember a few facts. You're not even going to remember all the facts that they tell you. I don't remember anything.
What a great place to pause our chat with Sarah, with her thoughts on love of learning. How awesome was it hearing about the cornerstones that make up Sarah's homeschool? Join us for part 2 of the discussion, where we delve deeper into what made Sarah freak out a little when unschooling her children, and how she worked through those thoughts to continue unschooling her children into their teens. While you wait for part 2 of the discussion, check out Sarah's blog or her socials, both named Happiness is Here. Thanks for joining us on the Fearless Homeschool podcast. If you'd like to stay connected in between episodes, check us out on socials at Fearless Homeschool. And if you'd like to hear more about our Fearless Homeschool journey, sign up to our Fearless Family Fables newsletter. But don't forget to subscribe so that you're the first to know when a new episode drops. Because
Why do the work?